Hello, today I'm going to introduce two new concepts in CoffeeScript. CoffeeScript's the programming language that we've been using to learn about computer programming. And the first concept is a new data type, which is called an array, ARRAY. And then the second concept is a new looping construct that's called the for loop, where for is FOR, as shown here. And so I'm starting with a program that is not valid CoffeeScript. What I have here is sometimes called pseudocode. So it's like code for a computer program, but we haven't fleshed out the full syntax, and it just wouldn't make any sense to the CoffeeScript interpreter when I ran this. And I'll illustrate this here. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's just totally confused because we're just not speaking its language. It's like if you don't speak French and somebody comes up to you and starts talking to you in French, you just don't understand. So let's start converting this to valid CoffeeScript. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a variable called people, and each name should be a string. So I'm going to turn these into string by quoting these people's names. And then it's important to realize that to tell CoffeeScript that what we're actually trying to do here is create a collection of variables that are going to be part of this thing called an array. And you'll probably just understand this more by example than by theory. But this first line of CoffeeScript is actually valid. So let's go ahead and run this. So I'm going to show you what people looks like, and then we talked earlier about commenting out code. So basically I'm making it so the CoffeeScript ignores lines 3 and 4 because we haven't converted that to valid CoffeeScript yet. But what I have now, it should be a valid CoffeeScript program, and I'm going to try it by running. And sure enough, people is now a list of is now an array that contains the elements Alice, Bob, and Cal. So an array is composed of several elements, and we can actually see like that the first element is actually indexed with the number 0, and we don't need to understand exactly why we start counting with 0 yet, but Alice is element 0, and then Bob is element 1, and then Cal is element 2. And then if I try to find the element 3 in the people array, it'll give me something like undefined, and indeed it does. So above people in the comment, I'll go ahead and put what their index is above them. So you can think of an array as a collection of elements that are indexed. Okay, so now let's start translating the next lines of the program. So actually let's do, well, yeah, okay, I am going to say for person in people, that I want to say hi to them, and in order to say hi to them, well, we know how to put stuff to the console. That's console.log, and then we know how to say hi to a person, but we don't want to say hi person. We want to actually say the person's name. So we're going to say hi, and then we're going to use the interpolation syntax to say hi Alice, or hi Bob, or hi Cal. And now I'm going to get rid of this line here, the pseudocode we no longer need because now we have actual code. And let's give it a try. Let me make this a little bigger for you. There you go. Okay, and so now we have the program that says hi Alice, hi Bob, hi Cal. And let me move this down a little bit just so that that little play button is not in your way. And so to review the program, we have an array called people, and each element of the array in this case happens to be a string. And then we're using this new looping concept called the for loop. And so we learned about the while loop before, and I can actually convert this to a while loop. I could have said I equals 0 while I is less than 3. I can say person equals people sub I, which is, I didn't really talk about this bracket notation, but when you use these brackets on an array, CoffeeScript uses this value of I as the index into the array. So like the index will be 0 the first time through the loop, and then it'll be 1, and then it'll be 2. And to finish out this program, I need to make sure that I increment I every time through the loop. And I'll put in one more statement to kind of separate the output. I'll say while loop way, and I will run this program. And I was missing one step, which is to actually console log. And instead of saying hi person in the while loop, I'll just say the person's name. So if I run that, okay, I can see that in the for loop, we were iterating through Alice, Bob, and Cal, and then in the while loop we were iterating through Alice, Bob, and Cal. But the while loop is very confusing because we have to keep track of the index, and we're responsible for incrementing the index every time. The for loop, as you can see, is much shorter, concise code. So let's get rid of the while loop. I just mainly wanted to illustrate to you that both what the for loop and the while loop have in common, which is that they run a block of statements multiple times depending on some condition. And what's actually going on here, let me fix the indentation. Let's add one more statement here to say just the person's name. The way a for loop works is you start off with the word for, okay, and then you have a variable that you're going to assign from the array, and the array comes after the keyword in. So this word in, CoffeeScript actually understands the meaning of the word in, just like it understands the meaning of the word for, and just like before we learned that it understands the meaning of the word while. I've told you several times that CoffeeScript doesn't understand much of English, but certain English keywords it definitely does understand, and it uses those words to help interpret the program. But at any rate, so this is the array that we have up here of the people. Each time through the loop, the next person in the array gets assigned to the variable person, and then that variable person can be used in the statements that are inside the block. In other words, when the for loops block of statement executes, the variable person will be populated with the correct person each time through the loop. So having said all that, let's give it a spin, and we can see that in the first time through the loop we had two statements. The first statement was just logging the name of the person, and then the second statement was greeting the person by saying hi Alice. And then we had the same thing for Bob, and then we had the same thing for Cal, and that's all I'm going to cover today. We will continue to talk about arrays, and we'll find out that this is a very useful data structure, and we'll learn more things that you can do with arrays besides just iterating through them. But the main thing that you should take away from today is that you can have a loop called a for loop that iterates through the array and assigns each element of the array to a variable that can be used in a block of statements. And that's all.